Hello, and welcome to another edition of Comics and Pop. I'm one of your hosts, Jonathan Rosen, along with Troy Cannon and Carlos Idarraga. And today we're going to give our reaction to the Thor Love and Thunder trailer, which was released today. And since he's already in his prop outfit, let's start with Carlos this week. Carlos, your initial thoughts?
I'm not wearing a prop.
This is our
this is the way I normally look. So it's funny because I usually I have like the Spider-Man one and the Iron Man one, and this is probably the one that fits me the most because when you think of Chris Hemsworth, this is pretty much if there was such a thing as a Colombian Chris Hemsworth, I can't even say his name.
We
exactly what it would look like.
It's very difficult.
Exactly. Not only do I not look like him, I can't even say his name. But anyway, should I do it the whole thing in the thing? But I can't see if I do it this way. Hold on. We'll do it this way. So anyway, bottom line. So this is probably the movie that I'm most excited about since probably the last Avengers movie.
More than Doctor Strange.
Huh?
More than Doctor.
I'm excited for Doctor Strange, but I'm more excited for Thor. And because to me, Doctor Strange is going to be really cool. But it's like, I guess, we wanted to talk about Doctor Strange, but to me, I'm all about the MCU and the Avengers, and we really haven't had an Avengers movie, or, what like the characters from that storyline. Even though, Black Widow, but Black Widow was more of an origin story, right? And then, we had Shang-Chi, and we had Eternals and Spider-Man, but they don't really have much to do with the original Avengers. So Thor is one of the original Avengers. He's also one of my favorites. So I'm really excited about this. Obviously I'm excited about anything Marvel, and I'm extremely excited about Doctor Strange, but this is the one that I was really kind of hoping to see. And the trailer looks amazing. It looks excellent. I guess initial thoughts, I'll go into it a little bit deeper, but initial thoughts, I love the fact that it's kind of like, Thor is kind of like he's figuring himself out because everything's pretty much done. He's like kind of done being, Thor, the god of thunder, and he's kind of like, going on a Zen, route to see where it goes. And obviously he gets blown up, and he's got to become a superhero again, right? The main thing about this Thor is that we're going to see Jane Austen. Oh my God, Jane Austen. Yeah. Jane Foster.
We're gonna have Pride and Prejudice. Jane Austen coming on.
Exactly. We have Pride and Prejudice, but we're gonna see Jane Foster, which is pretty exciting because everyone's been kind of waiting for that to happen. Man, it looks really good. It looks funny. I love the fact that we see a little bit of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I guess for Jonathan's hope, I'm thinking that it's probably just going to be them in the beginning, and you're going to see him for a few minutes, and that's it.
That is a fear.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen because he's obviously going to be teaming up with with the Valkyrie and with Jane Austen and Jane Foster, with Jane Foster, and to go ahead and defeat Gorr, the God Butcher, who's this new villain that a lot of people don't know about unless you read comics. I'll go a little bit into him a little later. But the thing that really excites me is that, Thor, the God Butcher, I guess, God Butcher, what does he do? He kills gods, right? So there's no Asgard anymore. So, there aren't really any gods for him to kill in Asgard. So what's the next level? Would be Olympus, right? To go after Zeus. And we saw a thing of Zeus. So what comes with Zeus? So Hercules. And I've been dying for them to introduce Hercules into the MCU because Hercules is probably one of my obscure favorite superheroes. He's in MCU. He's in the Marvel comic books. He's really cool. He was drawn, Marvel comics. Yeah, he was drawn a little bit by Bob Layton, who's like my favorite artist. He's like the best Iron Man artist of all time, and he did a run of Hercules for a little bit of miniseries and stuff. So I'm really excited about that. But I guess those are my initial thoughts. Troy.
Troy, before we get into Troy, I gotta say, I'm hoping this is good because we were supposed to do a Morbius episode, and then Troy's the only one of us that has seen it so far, and he reported back that this was garbage. So we did not do that. We have not seen it. Carlos and I still haven't seen it. So we hope that Thor's good to get that stench out of Troy's mouth. So Troy, take it away. Your initial thoughts.
My initial statement is yes, Morbius was garbage. It was one of the worst. It was almost as bad as Steel. It was bad. But Thor, I'm thinking, okay, you got Gorr, the God Butcher. You got Lady Thor, female Thor, the Mighty Thor, whatever she Thor, whatever she's gonna call herself in this movie. You got her, big things. What I want to see is the Thor Corps, because they've got Thor, right? And they've got Lady Thor. He's burying Stormbreaker in the ground, right? Stormbreaker is Groot now, because remember Groot chopped his arm off, and Groot is the handle now. And when Rocket Raccoon, what's his name now? It's Rocket, right?
Yep.
It's not Rocket. Yeah, it's Rocket. When Rocket Raccoon buried him and he died, and he took that little twig and buried it, it made a new Groot. So now that Thor is burying Thunderstrike, that's Groot Thor. So you got Thor, who's going to be, unworthy Thor, so probably be Odin's son. And then you got the female Thor, and then you're probably going to have Groot Thor. And then when they showed Thor and he was standing there, and he's like, he's done his workout montage, and he's standing there with the red jacket on. I'm thinking, he's dressed up like Eric Masterson. He's dressed up like Thunderstrike. So even if Thunderstrike isn't in it, there's a hint and a nod towards him. So that's 4 or 5 Thors right there. I'm thinking they're going to do Thor Corps. They've been hinting about Beta Ray Bill. He's probably.
I'd love to see Beta Ray Bill. I would love that.
That would be so cool. If Marvel's listening, they probably are. They come to us, our show, to get advice on stuff. If they're listening, they got to do Beta Ray Bill. That would be the greatest. And then you've got Thor Corps there. And then you can grab some other ones, like, they're bringing in the X-Men. Maybe they'll do Storm, Thor. I doubt it, because, they got to introduce her somewhere else. But that would be cool. I'm thinking Thor Corps, there's going to be more than one Thor. And he's going to need some help to beat Gorr anyway, because Gorr, if he's like the comics, he's a beast. And Thor, it was 3 Thors that beat him, the past, the present, and the future Thor that came together. So I'm thinking, and even in the comics, Lady Thor, or the Mighty Thor, as she calls herself, the Mighty Thor had a better grip on how to use Mjolnir. She could, mentally move him around, and he did loops and stuff. And it didn't work with Thor. Regular Thor just threw it at people and hit people in the head with it. But she was more skilled than him, and only in a short time. So even the two of them, I don't think could beat Gorr. So with that in mind, and I think he's going to leave the Guardians early on in the movie, because they've got to go find Gamora. In the previews, Gamora's not in those previews. It's the ones we've seen so far. So they're probably still looking for her. When they show Thor and what's the Rock guys, and Korg, they show those 2 guys together. They're dressed up like Ravengers. So I'm thinking, okay, so Thor's going to go with the Guardians. He's probably going to end up with the Ravengers. They'll probably drop him off somewhere. He's out there dressed up like Eric Masterson. He's out there dressed up like Thunderstrike. I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of Thors in this movie, or at least some help. He's going to need some help, because Gorr is going to have the Necrosword, if we talk about that. And this one, the dark sword, the dark blade, the dark saber, like Star Trek or Star Wars. So he's going to have the sword, man, and he's a beast. So they're going to need help. I just noticed my table's moving. They're going to need help. So I'm thinking they're going to bring him in, and it would be the coolest if they brought in Beta Ray Bill. But I think they need to save him for Thor 5, so he can come in and, like the comics, beat Thor up, take his hammer, and be like, Stormbreaker's mine, because they've already created Stormbreaker. So eventually it's got to go to, it would be like Superman walking around with batarangs. You'd be like, that's not right.
You're thinking Thor 4 is going to end on a cliffhanger.
I think so. And it's going to end up with Beta Ray Bill, because he's got to get his hammer.
Well, here's my initial thoughts. And it's like you guys said, I love the trailer. I was all in. But again, I do have all these little fears watching. I watched it like after we watched it all together earlier. I watched it another 3-4 times afterwards alone. And I thought the same thing. The Guardians are not going to be here that long. They're going to be here like maybe like 20 minutes of the movie and then split, if even. So,
hey, real quick, Jonathan, not to interrupt you, but what's the name of the movie?
Thor, Love and Thunder. Yes, I know. But I was all excited because I love the little team up. I love the little, Thor with the Guardians and at the end of all the Avengers movies. So I did love that. And so I was all excited, Taika Waititi and the Guardians. Oh, I'm all in. But I think they're going to be gone pretty early. And yes, but I love Thor. I'll say this, like we talked about this before. Thor 1 and 2 to me were like, they're okay. They're just, you watch them just because they're Marvel movies. Thor 3 was fun. And that was a conscious effort, to change the tone and everything, to make it more like the other Marvel movies. So Thor 3 was fun. I'm looking forward to this. There was a lot to take in the trailer, a lot of little Easter eggs, a lot of little things to unpack there. But yeah, the Guardians are going to be gone early, but I'm also concerned that the same thing that I always talk about here, I think we're going to be pushing stuff instead of sticking to story. So, but we'll get into that. So yeah, so what are some of the Easter eggs? What are some of the things that you unpacked in this trailer alone?
So a couple of things, just, for all you women power who watch this stuff, I'm behind you. My partners don't they don't feel as strongly about the woman movement as I do, but I love you women. I love how whenever Troy says something about Jane Foster, he's like, yeah, she's gonna do her thing, I guess, whatever. But you know what's funny? I was talking to a friend of mine today, and we used to, because the girl who's playing Jane Foster, the actress
Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman. She's really like, she's a thin actress. She's very, not and she jacked up for this role. You can see when they show her, like you see her arm.
That was all over Twitter today. Her muscles. They were all talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And if you look on if you Google like her jacked, and they see these pictures of her, and she looks like, she looks really like a totally different person. She looks really built, So I guess, it's funny. The human growth hormone and the steroids that these people take to get ready, let's just say, thank God this isn't like regular sports, because all these people will be banned from making movies because they all get jacked up for these movies, and guys too, obviously. But they
don't do it naturally like us.
Right, exactly. They're not natural like us. But yeah, that was like the two things that I'm hearing the most about is that how Jane Foster, how different she looks, right? Because she's jacked, and one of the things that a lot of the comic book diehard people are kind of like scared about, they're kind of like worried of how Gorr the God Butcher looks, because they haven't shown him yet, but they showed his action figure. So like usually, what happens is, the Hasbro, whatever, they put out the action figures before the movie comes out. So
spoiler. Yep.
It comes out as a spoiler. So we saw, obviously we know I think Christian Bale, right, is going to be the Gorr the God Butcher, and they showed his action figure, and he pretty much doesn't look anything like comics, he just, so a lot of people are worried that, that they're gonna kind of mess that up a little bit, but it's one of those things that it'll be messed up in the comic book people's mind, not in like the general people, because, nobody has any, unless you read the comic books, nobody really knows who Gorr the God Butcher is, I'm more worried about, how they portray him, not so much of how he looks, but, how he's portrayed, how he comes off as a new villain, is he going to be, like the way, the major villains have been liked so far in the Marvel universe.
Troy?
I'm curious about that too, because there was a specific storyline that they had for Gorr, and I'm wondering if they're going to use that. So has he been out there already for decades or thousands of years killing gods all over the multiverse? And, he's coming across Thor now? Or is something traumatic going to happen and Thor's his first challenge? Or is he going to knock off a few? Matt Damon's going to be in the movie, so I'm thinking he's going to kill Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Matt
Well, they said
Damon's,
that with Russell Crowe, that's what's going to happen. That Russell Crowe's in the movie and that he's going to get killed in the first few minutes.
that makes sense. But if they kill Zeus, well, that would bring Thor into, Hercules. Because you killed his pop. Hercules is going to come and call him. So that would be interesting. But I noticed that Valkyrie is wearing a suit. So they've been hinting, like in Loki and different things, that what's his name, Dyro, the Minotaur, the leader of the Roxxon Corps. Roxxon is they've showed him in the background for a while now, and Marvel's really good at building up villains or heroes by planting little things here and there. So Roxxon's going to show up. So I think that when she was sitting at that table, because she wasn't at the head of the table, they had a table and she was sitting away from it. I think that Roxxon has come a calling, and she got duded up because she's got to go there and talk to him. Because Roxxon is a earthbound corporation, but they're also intergalactic. They're also on other planets and in other dimensions. They're everywhere. So I think that they've got enough reach and enough pull that she's going to have to go there for whatever reason. They're going to call her in there and, like a kid, make her sit down while they chastise her or something. I think that's why she's in the suit, unless she's talking to humans, and they're telling her she can't have that property she's on or something like that. You can't just take property just because you're gods. You got to pay taxes too. So I'm wondering why she's in that meeting room, not dressed.
You know what it kind of reminded me a little bit of, though, Troy? That when she was with, like, everybody's wearing the black suits, the Time Variance Society, whatever, they all wore black suits and stuff.
Yeah.
You figure Loki is tied into that because that's what, the Loki series. So we're going to have Loki appear in Thor, God and Thunder as well.
I don't see how we're going to go without Loki in
right.
the movie.
So, maybe this is some kind of, the Roxxon thing makes more sense, but that the first thing I thought of was the Time Variance, because that's how they dressed and stuff, in the black suits and stuff.
That would be a cool thing to have. She needs to talk to Loki, so he makes her dress up for a meeting with him, and he makes her sit at, like, the kiddie table. That would be Loki. That would be so Loki. Sit at the children's table until I show up. That would kind of be cool too. I'd like to see that.
Who's the giant that we see chained when the bones of the giant?
So that's taken from Jason Aaron, the writer. He's the one who created Gorr, whatever, from that Thor run, and the first appearance of Gorr, which I don't have. I thought I had it, but it was the number 2 of that run, and then the number 3 of that run. There's a comic book panel where he's standing on a hill, and you see that the bones of that giant animal, whatever. So it's taken directly from that run. So I read it, but I read it a while ago, so I don't remember it. So I got to go read it. I got to go follow up on it and see what that is. But yeah, like people, all the comic book people, spec people, trying to pick up that comic that Thor, Love and Thunder, whatever, free, because that's that panel is exactly. I mean, they have it online. They show the thing and they show the panel, and it's exactly the same. He's standing on a mountain and stuff, and you see the bones of the giant dragon, whatever it is.
That's a god from another dimension that Gorr killed. I can't remember his name. I think it started with an M, but he was a god that had an animal form, sort of like Bast. And Gorr had killed him, and Thor was doing the investigation, and he was following all of the dead bodies, and he ran into that mammoth thing. I can't remember the name of it. But the change when he's doing his workout montage, I think that was a frost giant. Maybe what's his name, Ymir, maybe Loki's pop or something like that. But it looked like a frost giant. He was just using their chains to get his workout on with his Strongest Avengers hat on, his base biker or trucker cap on doing his workout. That was funny. That's funny.
So
That was I wonder if it was that, or remember in the Thor, what is it, Thor 3 Ragnarok? Remember that giant that he killed at the end, the one who destroyed Asgard? But that I don't think that was it. That fire.
No.
Yeah.
Different shaped head. They would say.
Yeah.
So what do we want to see from this movie? What are we coming out of this movie wanting to see? And the more and more I'm thinking that Troy was right. I think we're going to end here on a cliffhanger. So what do we want to see on this?
A segue to Beta Ray Bill. When the two sisters, Gamora, they're not sisters in the comic books, but the two sisters, Gamora and what's her face? I forget the other one. But the two sisters, when they are killing all those people, and she shows up with Nebula, and she shows up and she's like, Dad wants us to go back to the ship, and they're killing people. The people that they're killing, the battleship they're on, is the Scuttlebutt. And the people that they're killing, those are Beta Ray Bill's people. So, and then they leave because Thanos called them. So they didn't wipe all of those people out. And when Beta Ray Bill in the comics fights Thor, it is because he had just been attacked. And Thor shows up and he's like, oh, you're one of them. And he attacks him thinking he's defending his people. And he beats the brakes off of Thor and takes the hammer. So I'm thinking maybe they'll do like a time thing where the last encounter they had were the two sisters, and then they're flying through space, and then eventually they run into Thor, like at the end when Thor was with Loki, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna go to Earth, and he's like, oh, I don't think they'll like me on Earth. This is no, brother, we're gonna go to Earth, and then Thanos' ship shows up, and then it goes off. Cliffhanger. I think it's gonna be that kind of cliffhanger. Thor's gonna be doing something in space, and then you're gonna see the Scuttlebutt coming towards him, and the comic book guys will be like, it's Beta Ray Bill. He's on this shit, man. I think it's going to segue into, maybe not like that, but one way or another, I think it's going to segue into Bill. I would like to see him in the movie, but I think he's too large a character for them to just to sprinkle and drop him into the movie. I think that they need to build. They could do an entire movie with him coming, beating Thor, because Thor right now is walking around with Stormbreaker in his hand, which is Bill's hammer. So when Bill beats him and takes the hammer, he'll have his hammer. And then he can get his hammer back. He can get Mjolnir back from the mighty Thor. And then she can go back to being, a cancer chick or whatever, I guess. It sucks. She had cancer. I've got people that have died from cancer, so I'm being sensitive. But she can go back to being just some chick, and he can have his hammer back, and he can pass his hammer like a baton over to Beta Ray Bill, because that's what's got to happen when they showed him and he got the hammer and he's like, I'll name it Stormbreaker. Or the guy's like, his name is Stormbreaker. I was like, that's not your hammer. You're not supposed to have that, man. Yeah, that's the wrong thing, man. It's like Batman showing up with a shield with red, white, and blue on it and a star in the middle. I'm like, that's not yours. But maybe it's going to the guy that's introducing the guy. That's what I was thinking when they had Stormbreaker. I was like, that's not yours, man. But maybe it's going to the guy. Maybe the guy's going to show up. So I think that's what's going to happen. He's going to show up, and he might even fight Thor in the beginning, and then he'll win, and then it'll cut off, and it'll be down. So I think it's going to, either way, I think it's going to segue into Bill.
First of all, do you think we think we're going to get a Star Fox sighting it here at all?
Maybe. I didn't know who that dude was at first.
Oh.
The what is it? Watermelon Sugar High?
Yeah, Harry Styles.
I didn't know that was him.
Troy, the last couple of podcasts we've done, you're really pissing off my daughter. so
I'm like, that's the Watermelon Sugar High guy. I looked him up on the internet, and I looked him up, and the first picture I saw, he's like wearing, each and every their own. And some people can pull off certain looks. Like I could not wear a Jerry curl. Michael Jackson could wear a Jerry curl. I don't think this guy should have been dressed up like Prince. But I saw a picture and he's draped over a motorcycle dressed like Prince. And I'm like, that's not the guy. But then I clicked the picture and I was like, yep, well, Harry Styles.
So you never had a Jerry curl phase in the 80s?
I did not. I saw people with it and they were always spraying their hair. Crazy, man. I was like, oh, Prince, Michael Jackson, and Ice Cube. Nobody else should have a Jerry curl.
I just want you to know, I took my daughter to the Harry Styles concert. I went. I was there. So.
And that's the only song I know. He's probably got a dozen songs that I know and just don't know it's him, but that was the only one.
I was not even the oldest one in the concert. I was surprised. I thought it would be. So Lois, first of all, I got to say that I was very disappointed there were no food analogies tonight. So working it for the next podcast.
Hey man, Troy was in rare form tonight, bro. Troy was fantastic tonight. So like Troy, brushing aside women and cancer and gender fluid looking dudes, we don't want to have anything to do with those people, obviously.
Again, Troy does not speak on behalf of.
That was awesome. But with everything that Troy said about Beta Ray Bill, I would love to see happen, but most people don't know who Beta Ray Bill is. Beta Ray Bill is a comic book character that if Beta Ray Bill shows up, I'm gonna be fantastic and happy and stuff. But me thinking, I guess what I'm not what I want to see, but what I would think would happen is that they're gonna these movies, they always like to tie into the next movie and so on. So the next movie coming out is the Ant-Man, right? The Ant-Man and the Quantum whatever with Kang and stuff. So since obviously you have Thor and you have a Loki connection with Thor and Loki because he's his brother and whatnot. Probably maybe near the end figure Loki in there somewhere and then link it to have maybe a Kang appearance somehow, link it to Kang somehow. Because if he's Gorr, the God Butcher, the God Killer, Kang kind of thinks of himself as a god as well, right? So maybe tie him in there somewhere so that we can go on to the Ant-Man movie. I don't see Beta Ray Bill appearing in the movie, but that would be great. But I'm thinking more it's going to be more linked to, okay, what's the next movie and how can we tie it into the next movie? I don't know when another Thor is coming out or if they have plans for another Thor movie. So,
Hemsworth is one of the few that said he'd keep making them. Like,
right,
Chris Evans
but
and Downey said, I'm done.
I'm looking at the timeline of movies that are coming out. I don't see another Thor movie within the next few years. So, I guess having Beta Ray Bill in it would be kind of like great for comic book people, but it wouldn't make sense in the way they're made the movies that they have coming out next and stuff. So, like you said about Star Fox, that would be a cool appearance since he was already introduced in the Eternals and stuff at the end. But I'm thinking something to do with Loki and a time variance again and Kang and let's go on to Quantum Leap, right? To the Quantum, whatever the name of the movie is, the Ant-Man movie. So that's probably what I'm thinking. But are they gonna kill Gorr or is he gonna remain alive or and also the thing that in the comics, Jane Foster, the reason that she wielded the hammer is because she had cancer and wielding the hammer was kind of like, helping her fight the cancer and stuff. So I wonder if they're going to tie that in there as well or not, if that's going to be part of the story. Is she going to die? Maybe she dies in the end, fighting Gorr. Usually somebody, they always kill off somebody in Marvel. So maybe she'll be, maybe her character will die. So a lot of unanswered questions. I kind of like the fact that they're not revealing a lot. They're giving us a little bit. Like you didn't even get to see Gorr in the trailer, which was kind of cool. And I think that they're doing this for the Doctor Strange movie also, where they're not like re-releasing it. They're just going to release it on opening night to everybody, so that people can't come out with all the spoilers before the movie comes out. So I think that would be pretty cool if they did that from now on with that, Thor movies and these movies, because, to me, a great part of going to the movies is, being surprised and seeing something cool in you and not, kind of like knowing that something is going to happen, so hopefully they go with that route.
Like it was
you know.
back in the day, in our day.
Exactly.
But all right, here's what I want to see. I mean, I don't think there's any question we're going to see Kang, because that's what the MO was of Marvel. They put little bits of Thanos throughout all the other movies, like tiny little bits, until we got the introduction in, like, the Avengers movie. So I think we're going to see like even like a little snippet of here somewhere, because he's the next big bad, in the Marvel universe. So I think we're going to get a little snippet of him. I would love to see, like, at least also maybe just a little clip of Star Fox. I would, because you introduced him. I just don't want to throw him aside right now. And the same thing, I do think we might see a Beta Ray Bill. I do think we might see it, but not in the movie. I think it's going to be an end or post-credit scene, or like he'll be showing up ready to battle and fade to black. At that, like he said, I'm ready to challenge you, or whatever, and then we cut to the credits. So I think we might get him at the end. I don't think it's going to be throughout the movie either, because I think there's going to be a lot of stuff in there. I think we may get all the different Thors, like Troy said. So I think that'll be fun, and we got to save something for the next one. And like we just said, Hemsworth has said he'll keep doing Thor as long as they ask him. So unless that's changed, I think we will see another Thor down the line.
Hey, in Thor Ragnarok, when he goes to to fight the Hulk, to meet the Hulk, and in the planet Hulk, whatever, and he's and Hulk is in the arena. When they show the thing of the arena, they have like these heads of the prior champions. I think Beta Ray Bill was one of them, right? Wasn't Beta Ray Bill one of them?
Well, that could just be like some of his, one of his race or something.
No, right. But I'm guessing it was Beta Ray Bill. I mean, we kind of like know. I mean, obviously, Beta Ray Bill is coming, so it would be cool to see him in this movie. But I guess to see in what capacity. I don't know if they introduce him. I don't know if they would introduce him as, okay, he's coming in as, maybe to help them defeat Gorr, or is he's coming in to fight Thor? So I'd like to
like
see
any good hero, they got to fight each other first before they team up to defeat the bad guy.
Right.
Here's the thing about Beta Ray Bill. When they showed him, and that they had Beta Ray Bill, Ares, the Bi Beast, and some random guy I didn't recognize. They had they showed Beta Ray Bill, but the thing that I noticed was he was wearing the Asgardian headgear. He had the Thor-like winged helmet on. So I'm thinking, did he meet Thor at some previous time, defeat him so that because he's got Asgardian headgear on like Thor with the wings. I'm thinking, how could he have gotten that unless he's already met Thor? So Beta Ray Bill may exist, and Thor may know who he is already, and maybe he'll give him the thing. I was thinking about that too, because I was like, because he's wearing the same headgear as Jane is wearing right now. He's got that kind of thing, and so he must have gone to Asgard, because he wasn't wearing that before he beat Thor. So I'm thinking maybe they're going to skip the whole introduction, and Thor will just call on him at some point to help him.
You got to see them fight. I mean, like you said, that's comics 101. You fight first and then team up to get the bad guy.
You got to have the misunderstanding.
Right, of course. Well, anyway, let us know what you guys think in the comments. What are you looking forward to? What do you think of the trailer? What do you want to see? What do you not want to see? And let's talk about some more Star Fox and Harry Styles. Let us know in the comments, and tell Troy what you think of Harry Styles. So again, this has been Comics and Pop, and please subscribe.
Subscribe.